And we're off. Hi, gang. Welcome back. Episode 580 of the All Dolphins podcast on Monday, October 20th. It's the aftermath of what I have dubbed the Calamity in Cleveland. Not bad. Decent.
I like that. I like a catastrophe, calamity,
There you
comedy.
go.
I mean,
Catastrophe
tragic
in
comedy,
Cleveland.
maybe. I mean, we could go with all of those.
Okay. All good. We like those. I'm joined today by Dave Hyde from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, where we're going to discuss the aftermath of this game. Mike McDaniel's tenuous job security, but job that he still holds as we do this on Monday, taping at 4:20 p.m. Before we get into it, please, as always, my reminder: like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Above and beyond anything else, actually, check out Miami Dolphins on SI.com with a lot of content, all for free. So, Dave, let's dive right into it. And your column, among with that of a lot of people, mine kind of sort of was in the same vein, was basically, okay, is the time to pull the plug now or at the end of the season or what?
Yeah, I mean, they're done. They've been done. I wrote after the third game, 12 days of football. They're 0-3, and teams don't come back from that. Now the question is, what does Steve Ross want to do? Really, what is the plan for the rest of the season? Because we've seen it. Look, there's muscle memory here for Dolphin fans, and on what goes on in seasons like this from 2007 to 2000. 2015 when Philbin, and 2000, Adam Gaze's last year. And the question becomes, if you get rid of the coach, you get a new voice in there, you get perhaps a bump of emotion from players for a week or two. But more importantly, you get a head start on finding the new coach, and if you fire the new GM. So do you want to do that? Do you want to ride out this year and close your eyes and, as I wrote today, open them and hope the year's over with and you don't have to witness the carnage that's coming? But the carnage is coming regardless regardless what you do. So if it's 6-1, half dozen the other. Really, what does Steve Ross? What's his plan? That's all. They got to have a plan in the front office or in the ownership.
Or do they? The thing for me is, it's like if you're certain, because I get the argument for both sides, but if you're certain you're going to make a move, if Stephen Ross had decided now, I'm going to make a move at the end of the season, but I like Mike, I respect Mike, I'm going to give him the dignity, for lack of a better word coming to me right now, to finish out the season, as opposed to being an in-season firing. Okay, what happens if, and the odds of this happening are microscopic. What if the Dolphins get to, I don't know, 2-9, and all of a sudden they go on a 6-game winning streak to end the season, as happened? I don't remember the exact numbers. Nick Saban's first year, the Dolphins were 3-7. They won their last 6. They finished 9-7. Now, Nick Saban was in a different spot than Mike McDaniel. But what if something in the 2.3% chance that it happens? Now, is Stephen Ross, having decided to be nice to Mike McDaniel, going to have second thoughts like, oh, look, and fall into the trap of, oh, look, there's progress here being made, and maybe next year things are going to be different?
Well, I mean, Brian Flores, what did you start 1-7, and they finished 8-9 or something like that. So
that year, yeah,
it could happen. But regardless, year 4, you haven't accomplished, no matter how you go about it. How you do the math with the season, you won't have accomplished what you plan to do. And if not now, then when? I wouldn't. I'd probably fire him now, but the point being, you're going to clean house. Okay, you're going to do the whole thing. Chris Greer's going, and if they go, Tua's going, and if he goes,
how does Tua go when you're burdened by his salary cap number? Do you think the Dolphins?
I mean, it's going from the standpoint you're planning to move on with him. The question becomes, does he stay on the roster, a la
Kirk Cousins.
Russell Wilson with the New York Giants,
Okay.
or does he go like Russell Wilson with the Denver Broncos? That's really the decision that's going to be made on him. But your priorities are the Trinity of football: the GM, the coach, and the quarterback now, and that's got to be the plan. And the first thing for Steve Ross is he want to keep the team. That'd be my first thing. Does he want to sell the team? There are people like Ken Griffin who wanted to buy minority shares before, and evidently got tied up in complications because Griffin wanted more say / a step towards the majority. So, correct. I mean, that'd be the first thing. The second thing then is, how do you want to structure this? GM heavy, coach heavy, and that's going to come down to who's available, I think. Unfortunately, it's not 2 years ago when Jim Harbaugh was available, and it's not last year when Mike Vrabel was. Those were slam dunks.
Yep. And we see that's how it's working for the Patriots.
So there's nobody out there waiting like that we know of right now. Of course, Vrabel in the middle of last year, we didn't. Oh yeah, Vrabel was out all last year.
Yeah.
So there's nobody like that right now.
Nope. My thing is, like I said, to me, it's like if Stephen Ross has already made up his mind.
And how could he not? How could he not have made up his mind at this point? I mean,
no, that's a very, very good point. And
look at that. Look what was put on the field yesterday. That was, they couldn't get. It was like the clown show at the circus. They keep bumping into each other. They can't get out of each other's way. Between the undiscipline of the defense, penalties, helping the first three scores of just a deficient Cleveland offense, to 10 men on the field, the defense, it cost a timeout that the offense needed a little bit later, to what happened on offense, where you have Tua and Waddle, your most expensive players, just did nothing. And I'm not faulting Waddle on some point. I haven't looked at the tape, but you got to find ways to get him the ball.
One would think, right? I heard some of the talking heads saying, well, you can't fire McDaniel now because who are you going to put in charge? I mean, it's like, who else on the staff? Dolphins first of all, have tons of guys who have been interim head coaches, or a couple of them at least. Eric Stootsville's been an interim head coach. Darrell Bevel's been an interim head coach. Ryan Slowick's a former OC. Sorry, Bobby Slowick's a former OC. Anthony Weaver would be another possibility, even though I know the defense has not played well. Although yesterday they held Cleveland to 206 yards.
Yeah, that's not right though, because Cleveland rushing had 10. The running back Judkins 10 carries for 71 yards, and then in the second half they just went in the mud where they said, "You're not going to catch up to us. We're not going to even try to move the ball." So I'm not giving the defense they had a good game. Their undisciplined play led directly to the 3 first half scores Cleveland had. There were crucial penalties by the defense on all 3 of those scores, and that led to the 17-3 lead. The defense didn't get a break yesterday. That was an awful offense. That's an awful offense, Cleveland.
No, I know, but you're mean, Dave. Because to me, I have a hard time using the word undisciplined, and I'm not shy about using it when it applies. But you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, who did some arm fighting with the tight end.
That was a marginal call, admittedly a marginal.
Right, correct. That's one of those where half the time it gets called, half the time it doesn't get called. And then Zach Sealer winds up banging the quarterback on the top of the head. That's just kind of bad luck. I mean, I'm not aiming for it. And the problem is right now the Dolphins are so fragile that every time they get a setback like that, they can't overcome it. And part of it is I don't know if there's a woe is me mentality that's infiltrated the team and the players. And if there is, that obviously everything comes from the top. The whole demeanor is not good, and also doesn't help. And it's not, I'm going to preempt it by saying it's not all his fault, but it doesn't help when your quarterback's playing really, really poorly.
Everybody gets blamed yesterday. I mean, the roster is awful. That's Chris Greer. The coaching, there's no discipline on the team. As you saw, then all the players, they're the easy ones to point the finger at. I don't know what's going on with Tua. He's just regressed so much this year. From the guy that interception to start the second half, where the ball sailed on him, and there we go, a wet day, throws outside the numbers. Not. You got to put some zip on the ball, and he sailed it and tipped off Achane's fingers, and there we go the other way, and the game's over. So it's not a good look for any, and I get what you're saying. If Ross wants to protect the dignity of McDaniel, there's going to be no dignity on this death march to the end of the season if they keep playing like this. It's not going to be fun for anybody, including the people asking the questions, because I've been here before many times, and it's no fun watching a very long funeral procession on someone's career.
No, you feel bad for the dude. I mean, Mike's a nice guy, and it's like the questions are like becoming more and more comfortable because that's the situation the Dolphins are in. And back with Tua, it's like, his best ability has always been his accuracy, and that's like kind of all over the place this year. And we put a lot of it on his footwork because he doesn't trust the offensive line, because I don't know, the accumulation of the injuries maybe have taken a toll. Whatever the reason, the accuracy is not there anymore. And if he's not accurate, certainly can't make up for it with, overwhelming athletic ability, where he either overpowers the ball or he runs through guys or he runs around guys like certain other quarterbacks. And if ever Tua needed to have a big game, yesterday was kind of it, based on what happened after the Chargers game, when he kind of stepped into it with his comment about, the player-led meetings and guys not showing up or being late for them. Because he was taking the task for that. His leadership was called into question, and the way to have quieted that conversation and slam the door on it would have been to ball out and show these guys need to follow me because I'm the guy who's going to lead the way. And it was completely the opposite.
Yeah, and look, admittedly, Cleveland's got a great defense. Their offense, for as bad it was yesterday, they're missing both their tackles on offense. Third-string rookie quarterback who can't do anything. He's a backup quarterback in the league. But on defense, they're very good. And so, to expect to have a great game is probably much, but have a serviceable game, have a professional game, to come out of there and make the plays you have to. And I'm sorry, 3 interceptions, 1 pick, really one touchdown, another just gift wrap to the final touchdown. And so that's about overall. It was certainly the worst loss to me in the McDaniel era, from just the glumness of it all and which means you're going back through the Flores era too, because all of Flores' worst losses were desired losses by the team. So
except for him.
So, no, the one sin he did was he didn't lose enough.
Correct.
But so you're talking, for me, you're going back to the Adam Gase era for a loss like that, and probably through that even, and so that's as bad a performance as I've seen the Dolphins have.
No, I completely agree with you. And if you're joining us and not aware of the news already, because it needed to be asked, and prop for the question being asked, because it was brought up by some national talking heads, including former players LaShawn McCoy and Danny Cannell, who were suggesting that Mike McDaniel should bench Tua and go with Quinn Ewers. My thought on this was it doesn't make any sense, because Mike McDaniel was going to remain the coach. What he's going to try to do is win games, and Tua at this point still gives him the best opportunity to do that. But he made it official that, yes, Tua indeed will be the starter against the Falcons on Sunday. Do you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I have a thought, which was Quinn Ewers' first pass, which awful pass into traffic, and it should have been. That's all you needed to see. Okay, he's not ready. Let me be fair to him. Okay, if you think you're doing Quinn Ewers a favor by starting him now, that's no seventh round pick, rookie stepping into a troubled season. Be fair to him, and maybe a month from now we would revisit that idea, but probably not. And it's a non-decision. I think Mike said it properly.
Okay. Well, but he didn't. Then he threw it.
Yeah, I know.
And the comment of like, what was it about it? And hopefully we don't throw 10 picks.
Yeah, I mean, you put asterisks around everything right now because
I know, but was that some shot at Tua? What was that? What was that?
I should have said he started to answer it properly. The other aspect here is Zach Wilson. Obviously, they swung and missed on him.
Oh, I was going to get to that. You beat me to it.
Yeah, I mean the fact that I was always questioning that, and I didn't know, but the fact that Sean Payton in Denver kept him as his third string all of last season and didn't want to re-sign him, or didn't re-sign him in the off season. You had to factor that into. Okay, Mike must have liked Zach Wilson out of the draft to bring him back here. Thought he was a fit for the offense, but it wasn't like this was a sure thing renovation project. And it looks sure at this point. Looks like that chance is done. Mike said after the game it was because of the matchups with Cleveland, basically, which made no sense at all. I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, it looks like the Zach Wilson. I don't even know if it was experiment, but the hope is over.
I do want to go back to that comment that McDaniel made because I was like, it boggled my mind that they would throw that out there, and it sounds like is he pissed at Tua and it's a shot at Tua because I don't understand.
Look, he's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 2 games, 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions this season. So any head coach speaking in his right mind would be upset or frustrated with the quarterback. Now, the surprising thing to me is you don't hear that from McDaniel very often.
Correct.
So to me, it was uncharacteristic of him.
And it almost suggests a little bit of a fracture between what has been a very symbiotic relationship there, because somebody threw that out there. I don't remember who it was, that Tua made McDaniel a lot of money. McDaniel made Tua a lot of money, and now I guess it's every man for himself or something. I don't know.
Well, let's go back to last week where Tua's had his comments, and then Mike had his comments about Tua. Mm-hmm. The smarter thing would have been just said, look, we're dealing with everything in-house. This is stuff that goes behind the doors. We'll keep it there. Yep. That's where it should have been kept all the time. Instead, Mike said, what he said about
he knows it wasn't the right forum.
Yeah, not the right forum and misguided, and misguided is the right word. But the question is, he prolonged it too. So I'm sure nobody's real happy in the Dolphins right now, and the people at the top, the quarterback, the coach, the general manager, have to be the unhappiest.
No, without question. Then you brought up the good point about just the fact that, and again, for those not aware, and then Mike McDaniel said on Monday, there's going to be a competition this week for the backup position between Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson. This after Ewers was made the number 2 for the first time all season against the Browns, ostensibly because it was a better matchup. He was a better fit for the matchup, which, like you said, made 0 sense. And McDaniel said, hopefully this won't be a week-to-week thing, and then somebody can basically distance himself from the other one. And to your point is they gave Zach Wilson $6 million guaranteed. They did now spread out the cap hit to 2.2 this year, 3.8 next year by adding void years. So now they're going to carry 3.8 next year for a guy who's not going to be on the roster, who is having to compete with a rookie 7th-round pick in October for the right to be the backup. You can't make this up. And by the way, having attended every single solitary training camp practice, there is nothing I saw. There were flashes from Quinn Ewers in training camp, nothing to suggest this guy is going to be like an immediate impact player, even though I know it was very popular for certain fans and certain media members to quickly jump on that. No, that wasn't there. So, wow.
And I'd say the same about Quinn Ewers too. I mean, I didn't. He had some nice practice plays and all that, but his arm, he's not going to win on the strength of his arm, which means he'd have to get out there and he'd have to show you that he can do what a top 15 quarterback could do in the league to make his career. And so he's going to have to process a lot, and if it comes down to processing and mind and all that he's going to win with, it's almost better just to sit him out this year and let him learn. Or I guess what I'm saying, now's not the time to have the conversation about Ewers moving anywhere up beyond the backup quarterback spot.
Unless you completely checked out and now you're not playing for a very high draft pick and you want to see what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, let's revisit that in a month and for a couple of weeks or maybe next week. Way things are going.
Back to our McDaniel conversation. I personally am not surprised that Stephen Ross didn't make the move. Stephen Ross, again, has always been very fond of Mike McDaniel. Now, if you're looking at the timing, they have Atlanta this week, Baltimore on Thursday night, Buffalo at home, and then Washington in Spain, and then the bye.
Yeah.
Let's revisit at the bye. I think that if the Dolphins are 1-10, certainly would be a spot. Even if they're 2-9 and lose badly in Spain, maybe that's the time. They're certainly not going to do it before a Thursday night game. I wouldn't expect. So to me, logically, if it's going to happen in season, that seems to be now would be the logical time. If it wasn't going to be today.
Yeah. I mean. But on the other, look at today. Even they're going to Atlanta. Atlanta, the number one rushing team and the number one defense in the league. Which are, you talk about the two things the Dolphins match up. Is that you want to put an interim coach into stepping into that, and then your Thursday night game, short week. Maybe after that game, you have a week and a half, that be an option. But you play Buffalo. I mean, so he can do it any time, and it's the right time. But maybe there are better times for the interim coach to collect his breath a little and try to have some type of emotional change inside the team.
No, that's fair. And you mentioned the Atlanta game. This is where I'm going to mention that Mike McDaniel indicated, confirming the report, that Darren Waller's injury will not be season-ending, which is the good news. Per Drew Rosenhaus through Josh Moser of WSVN South Florida, it's a pec injury. McDaniel categorized it as a soft tissue injury, but McDaniel kind of suggested not very realistic that Waller will be able to play against the Falcons or even the Thursday night game against the Ravens. And it's not like the Dolphins have an overabundance of offensive weapons right now. It's basically Devon Achane and who is.
I mean, Waddle had a good previous game.
Yes, he did.
Waddle should be.
Yes.
You should be able to get the ball. I don't. They were taking him away. Look, get the ball to him. Okay. I mean, there's not many options out there. And it comes back to I love the Waller story. I love talking to him, but they put so many eggs in his basket to come back, and that was always a roll of the dice, and it's it's boom and bust at the same time with him right now.
And if they wanted a receiving tight end, they could have taken one like in the 5th round, like the Chargers did with Oronde Gadsden 2. Who's a Dolphin legacy, who had like 7 catches for 164 yards for the Chargers yesterday, who is a really, really good-looking receiving tight end. So in addition to not having Waller, the 3 guys who remain on injured reserve eligible to return: Austin Jackson, James Daniels, Jason Sanders, not this week, nor is Liam Eichenberg ready to come off PUP. So my final question, final thought, Dave, is they're 1-6. I think the ESPN percentage of playoff probability is like 1% or a little under 1%. It's not happening.
That high?
That high. What's the goal here? Do you just start playing a whole bunch of rookies in hopes of?
Aren't they already? They're already playing a whole bunch of rookies.
Oh, no, good point. Good point. I'm sorry, but
I get it's their game plan, but they really don't have a choice too, but to play a whole bunch, because the roster is constructed that way.
But I mean even more playing time than they're already getting.
I don't know who you'd play more. I mean,
Ali Gordon, you get Jason Marshall Jr., you get him off IR. Dante Trader Jr., who went from playing 34 snaps on defense against the Chargers, missed the late tackle in the open field, which wasn't an easy play, then wound up having 0 defensive snaps.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. But I didn't break down his whole game either, and
no, correct.
And, the point is you have to develop these rookies. Now, whether you develop them strictly in the game or for some guys, it's good to sit out a week or 2 or 3 and collect themselves and sit back and look at some things and develop them that way. There's a lot of individual how-to. The point being, none of them are really making you sit up and say, boy, this is great. We got something special. He's making some mistakes, but you see flashes of greatness here. And that's what you really want. I'm a great believer in the Bill Parcells line. You want the puppies to bite, and we're not seeing much biting going. We're some gumming and slobbering, but that's about it.
I think that's visual. Yeah, because he says basically if they don't bite as puppies, they're not going to bite as grown-up dogs or whatever. I never did ask you though. Were you anticipating a coaching move today, or were you ready to write your column?
No, I really wasn't anticipating it. I saw Ross there at the walkout down the hall. He was moving down the hall by the time I was at the other end, and let's put it this way. If I was the owner, I wouldn't. Yes, yesterday's game said replace. Then you look at the bigger picture. You want to put in an interim coach going into Atlanta. I just don't think that's a great situation. And really, there's not a situation coming up, as you said, until maybe the week and a half before the Buffalo game or the bye week. And the larger picture is, do they have a game plan of how to go about hiring someone, who they want to hire? I hope in his drawer, he's got a list of 3 names he wants. And he's kept that list for the last several years. He keeps it always and updates it as he goes to league meetings or talks to people, I just don't think they're that organized.
No, it certainly doesn't look like it, and we're unfortunately seeing the results. That's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed this little chat, he is Dave Hyde from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Dave, if I saw the promo correctly, is appearing on the Deep Dive with Perk on Tuesday at noon over at sunsentinel.com.
1 o'clock tomorrow. It's a little structural time change, but yeah, it'll just be, usually it's noon. Tomorrow it's at 1.
Okay, so check it out, 1 p.m. over on YouTube or sunsentinel.com. Obviously, check out his fine columns as well. Check out my written content, that of the Miami Dolphins on SI team at Miami Dolphins on SI.com. With the podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. And if you want to prefer the audio version, wherever you get your audio podcast. So that's going to wrap it up. Thanks as always, Dave. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your Monday.